There's big news coming out of Las Vegas, and Raiders fans, you're going to want to hear this. Before we dive into the latest updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a breaking story about your Raiders. Let's get into it. The Las Vegas Raiders made an interesting move in the draft. They picked up Charles Grant, a young offensive tackle with serious potential. Now, some people are already saying he could start from day one. That's a bold take, and maybe a bit early, but let's break it down. Grant played college ball at William & Mary. Not exactly a football powerhouse like Alabama or Georgia, but don't let that fool you. When you watch his tape, one thing is clear. This guy can move. He's got rare athletic traits, especially for a lineman, and fits perfectly into the Raiders' outside zone system. What does that mean? Basically, the Raiders run a lot of plays where their linemen need to move quickly and block in space, and Grant shines in that kind of setup. His footwork, balance, and speed are all top tier. Now, let's be real. He's not quite ready to start on day one. The smart move? Let him develop, just like they did with DJ Glaze last year. Remember how Glaze didn't start immediately, but when injuries hit, he stepped in and stayed in? That could be the same path for Charles Grant. Raiders insiders have said it clearly. Grant will be developed as a tackle, while Caleb Rogers will likely shift inside. Rogers might be more polished today, but Grant has the higher ceiling, and that's exciting. So, while he may not be a star yet, Charles Grant could be a future anchor on the offensive line, and that's a big win for the Raiders' long-term plans. Charles Grant has the raw tools, no doubt about it. But before anything else, he'll need to adjust to NFL game speed. That's his first real challenge. Not technique, not playbook, just catching up to the pace of pro football. And while some fans are already calling for him to start at left tackle, some even suggesting trading Kolton Miller, that would be a mistake. Let's be honest. Miller is one of the Raiders' most reliable linemen. You don't just throw away a cornerstone like that. He should be locked in as the starting left tackle for years to come. Charles Grant's path is different. The smart move? Develop him at right tackle. Let him compete with DJ Glaze. One of them will rise to the top, and the other, possibly shift inside or continue to grow. That's how you build depth, and depth is everything when you're trying to build a dominant offensive line. And speaking of dominance, don't forget the interior. The Raiders already have one of the league's best guards in Jackson Powers-Johnson and a solid center leading the way. Add in young talent like Caleb Rogers, and you're looking at a unit that could quietly become top 10 in the NFL. But let's get back to Charles Grant. His tape shows elite movement, especially when he's on the move in run blocking. His ability to reach defenders and take perfect angles is rare. That's a huge asset in the Raiders' system. Still, he's got work to do in pass protection. His stance is a bit high at times. His hand placement needs polish. And when he tries certain advanced moves, like the snatch technique, they just don't land the way they should yet. That's okay. He's raw. But the potential? It's real. He might not be a guaranteed top 10 tackle like a Jackson Powers-Johnson or a Darnell Wright, but if the Raiders are patient, Charles Grant could absolutely grow into a key starter on this line. There's no question, Charles Grant has promise. But let's be honest, he's not walking into the league as a finished product. This isn't like Olufashanu or other top-tier tackles who looked dominant right away. Grant needs time, and that's okay. Some fans are jumping the gun, saying the Raiders should trade Kolton Miller and hand the job to Grant. That's not just risky, it's unnecessary. Miller is a proven veteran and a key part of this offensive line. You don't toss that aside for potential. You build around it. Now, let's shift gears to something that's really stirring the pot. Amari Cooper and a possible return to the silver and black. Yes, that's the buzz. After the draft, talk started heating up that Cooper might be eyeing a reunion with the Raiders. It didn't come from nowhere. Reliable NFL insiders and sharp-eyed observers have been connecting the dots. And if it happens, it could be a game-changer. Why? Because as of now, the Raiders' receiving core is promising, but not proven. Jacoby Myers is solid. Jack Beck and Trey Tucker have upside. But let's face it, Two of those three haven't really made their mark in the NFL yet. Going into a season with that much uncertainty at wide receiver is a risk, and in today's league, you can't win big without firepower on the outside. Even great quarterbacks need great targets. Adding a veteran like Cooper, someone who's been there, done that, could raise the ceiling of the entire offense. It's about building a complete team, not just stacking talent. And that means filling in the gaps with players who can lead, perform, and elevate the rest of the E roster. The Raiders already have talent in place. With players like Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty, there's reason to be excited about the future of this offense. But let's be real. If this team wants to take a serious leap forward right now, they need one more thing: a reliable wide receiver who can separate and win routes from day one. That's where the idea of Amari Cooper comes into play. Yes, some fans might have mixed feelings about it, but the truth is, he once thrived in silver and black. Go back to 2016, and you'll remember Cooper was a key reason the Raiders looked like real contenders. He's not Justin Jefferson, but Cooper doesn't have to be. What he brings is sharp route running, soft hands, and the ability to get open. That's something this current group of receivers could really use. Let's be honest, Trey Tucker hasn't broken out yet, and Jack Beck is still adjusting to the league. He may explode by mid-season, or he may still be learning. It's unpredictable. Then there's Dante Thornton Jr., loaded with upside, no doubt. But as a fourth-round pick, he's more of a project for the future than a guaranteed contributor right now. And that's the point. The Raiders shouldn't waste this season waiting on potential. They have the pieces to compete, especially on offense. Adding a veteran like Cooper could stabilize the wide receiver room, and that matters in close games where one or two clutch catches can decide everything. There's another benefit, too. Cooper's presence would be valuable for the young guys, especially someone like Jack Beck, who already shows solid route-running skills. Cooper has helped young receivers grow before, whether it was CeeDee Lamb in Dallas or others learning around him. Of course, the big question will be money. If it's a team-friendly deal, somewhere under $10 million, it's a no-brainer. But if Cooper wants something closer to star money, like $18 million, that's a different conversation. Bottom line, this receiver group has potential. But potential isn't enough if you want to win now. Cooper could be the key piece that turns a promising offense into a dangerous one. Let's talk reality. If the Raiders want to win games this season, they'll need to lean heavily on the offense. That's just the truth. While there's promise on defense, there are still too many unknowns, especially in the secondary. Yes, we're excited about Darian Porter. He's fast, he's physical, and he could very well earn a starting role early. But what about the rest of the back end? Do the Raiders have enough at safety? What about the slot corner position? And who lines up opposite Porter? Right now, there are more questions than answers, and that puts pressure on the offense to carry the load, at least early in the year. If you're trying to win now, you can't afford to just hope the defense gels. Especially not with a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith, who's 35 and looking for a real shot to compete. You've got to fill the holes quickly, and that includes exploring free agency to bolster that defensive unit. But here's a development that could shape the Raiders' future in a major way: the hiring of Anthony Patch. The Raiders quietly made a bold move by bringing in one of the Eagles' top scouting minds. Patch, who spent years helping build one of the NFL's deepest rosters in Philadelphia, is now a senior personnel executive in Vegas. That's no small thing. Think about what the Eagles have done over the past few seasons. Their dominance hasn't just been about coaching or quarterback play. It's been about smart, strategic drafting, late-round steals, calculated risks on elite talent, and a consistent pipeline of young contributors. Players like Jalen Carter, Landon Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens weren't just lucky picks. They were the result of a system that knew how to evaluate college talent at an elite level, and Anthony Patch was a major part of that system. Now he's in the Raiders building. This signals a real shift for the franchise. It's not just about big names or splashy trades. It's about sustainable roster building, the kind that turns playoff teams into Super Bowl contenders. The Raiders have already laid some exciting groundwork with recent draft picks. But adding a voice like Patch to the front office? That's how you start building a championship-caliber foundation. Let's make one thing clear. The Raiders didn't just hire another scout, they brought in a difference maker. Anthony Patch, the architect behind so many of the Eagles' smartest draft decisions, is now a senior personnel executive in Las Vegas. This isn't some behind-the-scenes desk job. This is the guy who built draft boards, ranked prospects, and helped shape the roster of one of the most consistently well-built teams in the league. And now, he's doing that for the Raiders. Even more importantly, he's got history with GM Tom Telesco and John Spytek, which means there's already trust, familiarity, and a shared vision. That's huge. Because building a winning team doesn't just come from free agency or flashy trades, it comes from smart, disciplined drafting. And Patch has spent years excelling at exactly that. Look, the Raiders had a solid draft this year, but what they're doing now is planting the seeds for elite scouting consistency, year after year. That's what separates contenders from pretenders. Imagine what this staff might do with another full year of evaluation, intel, and draft prep, all built around a guy who knows how to find talent where others miss it. And that includes undrafted players too. Take linebacker Amari Cooper, for example. He wasn't a draft pick. He wasn't a headline signing. But once he stepped into the Raiders building, he turned heads immediately. His work ethic, explosiveness, and instincts popped right away, and now he's quietly positioning himself as one of the most intriguing depth pieces on the roster heading into camp. That's the future of the Raiders. Not just hoping for big names, but identifying raw, overlooked talent and turning it into production. That's the kind of edge you need if you're serious about winning in the NFL. The Raiders are finally starting to build something sustainable. Not just a team for next season, but a foundation for the next decade. One name quietly turning heads in Las Vegas? Amari Cooper. He wasn't drafted, he wasn't supposed to be a headline. But from the moment training camp kicked off, Cooper flipped the script. He outperformed players with draft pedigree, like Amari Burney and Tommy Eichenberg, both expected to have a leg up. Instead, it was the undrafted linebacker flashing the instincts, burst, and physicality you want in a modern defender. Cooper didn't just hold his own, he stood out. In preseason action, while others blended in, he popped off the screen. Quick reads, decisive movement, physical finishes. All signs of a player hungry for more than just a roster spot. Right now, everyone expects Devin White and Landon Roberts to anchor the linebacker group. But here's the thing. If there's one player primed to shake up that depth chart, it's Cooper. He's been grinding this offseason, not for show, not for hype, but to start. His tape is better than most realize. His work ethic? Next level. And if you're watching those off-season drills, you can see it. His footwork is sharper, his change of direction quicker, and his reads more confident. This isn't just a developmental project. This is a player ready to contribute now. The Raiders need speed, physicality, and fresh energy at the second level, and Cooper might be exactly that. He's not asking for headlines. He's earning every snap. Keep his name in the back of your mind now, because by mid-season, you might be hearing it a lot more often on Sundays.